We are going to now talk about our review for the week. We have a book that Image sent us to check out. It's called Our Bones Dust. That'll make
Dude.
sense if you read the book. Let's talk about the creative team here before we get into our opinions. This is with story and art by Ben Stenbeck, who I hadn't heard prior to this book, with colors by Dave Stewart, letters and logo design by Rose Wooden. So Rose Wooden, very prolific letterer. But let me start with Clay. What did you think about our? Oh, hold on. Sorry, let me read the synopsis real quick. In this book, a feral child, equal parts predator and prey, navigates a nightmare landscape of brutality and blood, inhabited by scattered cannibal tribes. An interesting place to poke around for a curious artificial intelligence. A four-issue miniseries by longtime Mike Mignola collaborator Ben Stenbeck, who's done stuff like Baltimore, Frankenstein Underground, and Koshé. I don't know the last one. I don't know that I said the last one correct, but I did check out the first issue of Frankenstein Underground. Interesting. I think you read that one too, right, Josh? Frankenstein Underground.
I did, and
Yeah.
I liked it.
Okay, we'll come back. We'll come back to you. Clay, what did you think about this book?
I loved it. It reminded me of like a heavy metal story. So like you're reading heavy metal and you start with this. It has incredible art of these aliens dissecting our planet, and they're able to do it in such a way to like pull parts of the ground out and pull things apart. And so as they're kind of inspecting our planet, they come across the survivors, if you want to even call them that, because we're at like the end of the world part. These people are only have water, and their only way of consuming protein is cannibalism. So we're at that darkest point of humanity's death, which, you know, most people will go, oh, we'll have an apocalyptic event and then it's just downhill from there. No, you can break that down into even more segments, from society's breakdown to just complete collapse. And I've only seen that in a very few stories where we're at this point where we're just about to die off completely. And one of those is in the movie A Boy and His Dog, where you see the last remnants of what's left. And I kind of love this because everyone's just fighting for survival. And so they're willing to trade their arm or leg as meat for water, and to do jobs like go track this kid down who had stolen water from them. And the art's incredible. Like, I love the design of the alien. I love the concepts where you can kind of see what the alien's doing, but then you get into what has happened to humanity, and that's just the darkest place of all. And I kind of dig that.
Yeah. Jack, what did you think of the book?
I did really enjoy it. As far as like first issues goes, this was definitely one of the stronger ones. And normally when a new series comes out, I like to give it about like 3 issues for a mini series. At that point, I may just finish it.
Yeah.
But no, I thought it started off really strong. The art does a lot of the storytelling, and I loved seeing how kind of like language devolved also, like as the characters are talking, or at least the human ones, you get like just enough from each of their sentences to understand what they're saying or asking for. And so like, as I guess, like, post-apocalyptic stories aren't always my like go-to, but this one definitely has me intrigued, and the sci-fi element with the alien visitor kind of has me intrigued as far as like where it'll go to. And for the synopsis to mention that it's all about this kid, I'm like, this kid really wasn't in the first issue a whole lot. And I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, real quick on the language, the only other time I've seen that done very well was if you've seen Threads, which was a BBC film about, it was their day after that they had filmed in the 80s. They go from the point of the nuclear bomb like 3 generations past, and you got to think about after the breakdown of society, you have no schools and how language will deteriorate.
Oh,
and,
right.
and it's done so well on the page in this book.
Yeah.
No cap. Anyways, Jeff.
I really enjoy the book. I really love the design of like all the characters and the aliens and whatnot. I did love the little feral kid. It kind of reminded me a little of the book All Against All, which also has like a little feral kid and an alien in it. This is obviously a little bit different, but yeah, it's super enjoyable. Do we know how long it's going to be?
4 issues. 4 issues.
4 issues? Okay. Yeah, it's great. Highly recommend.
All right, Josh. I'm pretty sure we were kind of discussing a little bit. Maybe the book didn't hit the same as what we. But tell me what's going on. What are you?
Yeah, well, I do want to give props. The art is great. The art is really, really good. I think I was kind of getting. It's like a amazing mix of like Mobius combined with Jeff Smith. Right, there's a lot of that kind of Jeff Smith like expression, in it.
What a blend!
I know, right? So the art is fantastic. It could just be I don't like post-apocalyptic stories. I just don't. They're not my jam. This one felt incredibly dark. I think even with the hopeful stuff, and I feel like, and this is not a disservice because again, every story references something else, but I was just getting a lot of like Mad Max combined with Wall-E vibes, and it never quite meshed for me. So
you forgot about the hills have eyes.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's doing it a disservice. It's one issue. It's setting stuff up. I get that, but.
It's dark. I mean, the cannibalism is very casual of the storyline.
So I didn't pull any of those pages where things get really gnarly.
Yeah,
because I didn't want to spoil anything, but the book definitely goes places that you're like, holy shit! Not just with the cannibalism. There's even on top of that stuff. There's another layer that we're like, what the fuck happened here? And then the book kind of ends.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I need to keep going.
I feel like I'm at the point with post-apocalyptic stories where I was with zombie stories like 10 years ago. Like I'm just kind of done of this as a conceit, you know. But anyway,
that's only because you can see it in the horizon already.
Exactly.
We're almost
there.
there.
It was a lot more fun when you couldn't just look ahead and it was right there.
Huh? Right. When I'm not staring it in the face. So
I love it when it's a fantasy and not a reality.
Right. I also really enjoyed the book. My only issue with it's not really on the books. It's not really the book's fault. This is more of a publishing thing. This to me feels like this was a standalone graphic novel that they cut up into 4 parts. Yeah. I don't think this was planned to be serial. Maybe it was, but I feel like this is something that this 4 issues, like that's all gonna read very nicely going into, because I did want to just turn the page after the end of the book to see like what's going on, right? So they picked a really good point to drop off, but I feel like this was definitely something that, and Image has been doing this with a lot of these books that is just one sole creator doing both story and art. Where they are broken up into like 4, 5, 6 issues, and then they put out a collection. But because I feel that's just kind of the way the business is, not so much because like, oh wait, this should be just a standalone graphic novel that we sell, and people love it like that. So, but like I said, that's no fault of the book. I love the art. I love how like I think the boundaries that it's touching on are very interesting. So. Yeah, I also highly recommend this. So thanks to Image for sending this out to us. We'll probably revisit. I would say we maybe revisit this when it's over.
Yeah.
To kind of just talk about the resolution. So cool. Was there any last comments on this before I show you guys the really cool variant covers? All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, check out our Bones Dust. I love it. It's such a fun title once you figure out like why that's the title. So, but yeah, we have the main cover and of course a Mike Mignola cover.
Because, that is a nice Mignola cover.
Like, I really like how Mignola kind of stretched out that robot AI thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I pick up many Mike Mignola covers of books I don't intend to read. So
Was I the only, like, I was zooming in really close in the PDF when he finds the MP3 player to see if I could determine what it was playing, and it was just gibberish. But I was like, what song is it? You know? So
cool. Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for The Space Between #2. This is a new book from BOOMstudios, written by Corinna Becco and art by Danny Luckert. So I talked about the first issue of this anthology book. I think I like that the stories are a little bit more connected than I originally thought they were going to be. We have these people living on a ship, and they have their own society and their own rules. And I think we see that a lot of things happen in the first issue that kind of break up the structure of that society. So now we get to see here in this issue a revolution and 60 years passing have drastically changed the Dodona, given way to leisure and peace unlike any the inhabitants have experienced, but all is not well, as automation and underemployment create conditions for a populist figure to sway, many including an algae tank worker named Pari, with Les and Revela's granddaughter B standing against the movement, along with countless other. An all-out war is far from unlikely. So it's a really cool concept of like almost feels now like an experiment of like how would a society work if, like, first of all, you have all these technological advances, but also they have limited resources and they're stuck on the ship as they travel. And then you kind of just want to it's like, let's peek in on the experiment every little while, right? So we have, as I mentioned, 60 years have passed since our first book, which I really enjoyed that first book. Now, this one, I guess my only thing was it felt a little jarring having to bring in a whole new set of characters to kind of like connect with again. So that was a little bit of a tall order. But the fact that some of these characters are related to the characters that we know, and I think, like kind of like handing off the baton to the next generation or the next generation after that, I think it's going to be a really fun concept. But I quite enjoy this. There's definitely a lot of commentary in this book that I think about society and people overall, which I think it's very interesting. And of course, all this is wrapped in some beautiful, beautiful art. Danny Luckert and the team just doing a fantastic job of capturing this beautiful ship with all the little things. I love how there are places where maybe the ship is not as cool because it is like all the underworkings of the ship. Like, it's a really interesting juxtaposition of when we are all aboard, like where people are living in the life of luxury and stuff. Very interesting. I love the holograms. I think those look very cool. Like, it is all about the cast, which is kind of like the broadcast of the ship, which really tells you like how much kind of media and stuff influences people. But yeah, I love it. I love the quiet moments in the ship as well, the conversations, and just all the little details that I need to go back and read this once it's all done, collected, I think, because I know there's so much more stuff that kind of really connects the issue by issue. So that's going to be really fun to revisit. But I'm enjoying this anthology so far. It's really, really cool. Just a fun concept. So stay tuned. We'll definitely be talking about these. Hopefully I could do reviews as soon as they come out every week, because I think that'd be really fun. So hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Legenderry Red Sonja #1. This is a new book from dynamitecomics, illustrated by the incomparable Curabal. Legenderry Sonja also features incredible covers by Sean Murphy, Corin M. Howell, and special cosplayer Shannon King. This is written by Katana Collins. In this issue, when we last saw the legendary world's Red Sonja, she was living the pirate's life aboard her ship, the Nautilus. But times have changed. In this special 40-page one-shot adventure created exclusively for Red Sonja's 50th anniversary. Fan favorite Katana Collins weaves a tale of thievery, deception, and a mysterious painting with a decidedly handsome and unaging owner, all set against the steam-powered backdrop of the Legendary world. So I wasn't very familiar with the Legendary world, but I like steampunk enough to check it out. I think it's a very cool concept. It adds a very fun look to things. And seeing Red Sonja, who's more of a fantasy magical type of character woven into a world like this, I think it's very interesting. It's a really fun mystery. Like, I feel like if you are a fan of literature, you're gonna figure this out very quickly. Like, I don't think the book's being subtle about this at all, but I think the resolution is what kind of brings this to be really, really fun. Now, unfortunately, I all the preview art that I have is in black and white from when this book was first announced. I don't have any actual preview art that I can show you without like watermarks and stuff. So we're gonna go over that because Kurobal, fantastic artist, and I think really captures the like just some really cool images and really interesting imagery of Red Sonja in this steampunk world. So let's take a look. And as you can see here, we open up with some just bombastic stuff, gears everywhere. It must be a pain to draw stuff like this, but it's a really cool splash page. I love that, Red Sonja's outfit has been kind of updated, of course, to fit into this steampunk world. Like I said, I hadn't really checked anything out from this Legendary world, so it's very interesting. And yeah, some very cool sequences. Of course, there's a lot of fight, there's a lot of action, and all engulfed in this mystery of like, who is this handsome man and what does this painting have to do with everything? So yeah, I won't go too much into detail because I don't want to spoil anything, but this was a really fun book. I think if you're a Red Sonja fan, you definitely want to check this out. If you like steampunk, I think there's enough there. I feel like it doesn't lean enough into the steampunk aesthetic as it probably could, but it's like, it was more of a like, what if we put Red Sonja with goggles and a trench coat and a cool sword and stuff that looks steampunk. But as always, Dynamite has some fantastic covers because that's what they just love, a variant cover. I love variant covers, and yeah, this is really, really cool stuff. Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Transformers number 3. This is a new book from Image Skybound. Let's take a look at the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written and drawn by Daniel Warren Johnson with colors by Mike Spicer, Russ Wooten on letters. So yeah, this book continues to be phenomenal. The story, the lore that we're building for the new Energon universe, and everything that Daniel Warren Johnson is bringing from the old mythology and updating it and kind of weaving it into what we're seeing now, just makes for a really, really cool book. In this issue, outnumbered and overpowered, it's time for the Autobots to stand their ground as Optimus Prime goes toe-to-toe with Skywarp. Yeah, so as we saw from last issue, things escalated very quickly. Like, there is just the Autobots are really at a disadvantage when it comes to pretty much everything. I guess they, seeing as the Decepticons kind of were tricked into getting woken up first, and there was a whole other side mission that, not everybody was aware of. I think that really makes for the Autobots, just put them at a disadvantage, right? They weren't able to wake up all the Autobots, and then also being in a new world, being with new humans. Yeah, and on the other side, the human side, they've suffered heavy losses from last issue as well. So seeing them here be not trustworthy of any robot really adds a layer to on top of that. So let's take a look at some of the preview art here. So Carly here is obviously her dad died, right? He was squished last issue in a very gruesome manner too, but I really like Daniel Warren Johnson's really good at these facial expressions and just these more quiet moments. I really love the paneling here, leaving everything clean on the background, just a clear background. And then as they kind of zoom in a little bit for the conversation, Really cool stuff, just to be interrupted by a big crash. Which this is where it comes to, like, okay, yeah, some of these the robots are against them, but Cliff Jumper is also there. Now, obviously, Mr. Woodwicky doesn't know that, right? He doesn't know that, so like he goes out and attacks him as well. Really cool panel here of like him unloading the shotgun into Cliff Jumper, kicking him all the way out of the house, giving them a chance to run a little bit. And then on the other side, we catch up with the Decepticons, which Starscream is just such a mood. Like, he is fantastic. He's such a brat. He's so power hungry, and I just love any mention of um, the Megatron. Really, really pisses him off. So yeah, here we have and sending Skywarp out to do the dirty work. So this issue continues to be a lot of fun. Daniel Warren Johnson's art is unrivaled. It's interesting to see how he can do these mechanical robots in such a loose kind of way. Like, it's very interesting because obviously the design of the characters is very structured, very rigid, but then Daniel Warren Johnson's art style is very fluid and dynamic. So he manages to implement that and inject it into the book. I'm going to get a little bit into spoilers, so if you don't want to get spoiled, turn away now. But this is kind of the stuff I'm talking about, like Optimus Prime coming in to save the day, save Carly and Cliff Jumper, with just such a really, like, obviously this is a robot and it's not as flexible, but as soon as it gets hit by Optimus Prime, you can see here just like Skywarp being all bent out of shape. And I just love that the sound effect. It almost looks like a rocket, right? Like it's coming out. So yeah, very cool stuff. Of course, superhero landing. What else would you want from a comic book? Really fun stuff. Very well paced story as well. I think we're finally getting to a little bit of the crux where, like, these humans are gonna have to realize that they have to work with some of the Autobots. So hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Petrol Head number 2. This is a new book from Image. We talked about this book in our last stream, and we did a little review for that. But here I am continuing to talk about it. So let's take a look at the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Rob Williams with art by Piper, art and letters by Piper. So very cool stuff. If you missed the first issue, go check out our review. We go in depth with it. We actually talk about it during the stream, and I broke that out into a separate video that I'll link in the description of this one. Now, in this issue, start your robo engines. The chase is on. Petrol Head and Lupa gun it for the smog zone, border with half of the ozone security drones and robo-cops on their trail. Can one old racing robot outdrive the best tech in the city and Lupa's father, will he survive the experience? Big, beautiful, smart. Don't miss out on this one. This is a quote from Rick Remender about the book. So, and I quite agree. There's a lot happening here. There's, first of all, the world building just continues to feel so organic. Like, dropping in little hints of the story. We're getting background on some of these characters, especially Lupa. We get to see why she feels the way she feels about robots, what her childhood was like what kind of loss she's experienced, and why she's so worried that her father's also going to die. All this mixed in with like some of the coolest driving designs, like Piper's designs for cars and robots and everything is just fantastic. It's just next level stuff. I really love it. I every time I look at these designs, I can't even figure out which, like, picking out pages to show in the review that are both non-spoiler but still look very cool is very difficult. But let me show you. Here we have, first of all, some of the more quiet moments as Lupa and her dad are kind of talking and remembering a little bit about like why Lupa doesn't like robots. I mean, we definitely saw that when they met Petrol Head. And just thinking about her mom, right? The loss that she's experienced in the past. Really, like, I love how the memories are kind of washed in this gray, just to really show the reader that's what's going on. It's very, very intuitive. And then, of course, all this counteracted by, like, they're on the run. Here they go. This is a double page spread. Just so much detail. The robots, the cat. Why is there a cat in the middle of the road? Well, I guess they're not in the middle of the road. They're going through a fence, but like, just everything that's happening here, and then a little bit of a look inside the cars, to figure out, like, what are they doing. And of course, it's still a very kind of antagonistic relationship between Lupa and Petrol Head. All this, and we continue to build out the ozone. We continue to talk about these villains and maybe try to figure out a little bit more about their motivations. So yeah, this book continues to astonish me at every turn. Really, really excited. Maybe the guys will talk more about it on the next live, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Hellboy Winter Special, the Yule Cat #1. This is a new book from Dark Horse Comics. Let's take a look at the creative team before we get into this book. Of course, based on characters by Mike Mignola, but this story and art by Matt Smith, with colors by Chris O'Halloran, letters by Clem Robbins. Now, I love a good holiday comic book winter special, and who else but to bring in Hellboy into this world. So, in this issue, Hellboy travels to Reykjavik, where children are disappearing and a giant beast has been spotted. Could the infamous Yule Cat of Icelandic lore be behind all this? Fan favorite Hellboy artist Matt Smith writes and draws a chilling wintry one-shot. Yeah, this is just a really fun mystery. I think there's a lot of layers on top of this that Matt Smith really unfolds very at a really good pace, very efficiently, but also, like, while bringing you into the story. Of course, the stakes are high as children are disappearing. Now, I've never heard of the Yule Cat as far as, like, in mythology, but bringing that into this world and knowing that it's based on local folklore of the place, I think that's a really cool concept. And of course, we have these quiet moments where, like, Hellboy just talking to the people, trying to understand what's going on, and of course things are going to kind of escalate towards the issue. But it's really nice to see this softer side of Hellboy, which we don't often get to see, because for the most part he has to be punching things. Now let's take a look at some of the art, and I really like when an artist is capable just to do a complete book. I think it's a very interesting talent to be both a good writer and a great artist creatively. So I really like the exposition of how we're setting up the town, and the little birds talking. And then, of course, we have Hellboy having a conversation with the locals, trying to figure out what's going on. Of course, Hellboy is usually reluctant to try to help, but I feel like, it'll eventually get there. So yeah, I really love this. Like I said, I like the more quiet moments in Hellboy. Sometimes they're really nice to offset the pace of a big bombastic story, which we'll definitely get into as the mystery evolves. So really fun one shot. If you like Hellboy, I think this is a must read. If you're looking for just a fun holiday thing to read, this is just as good as anything else you could pick up at the shop. So yeah, really fun stuff. And then you get to learn a little bit more of some local lore that you may not be aware of. So that's kind of cool. Overall, really enjoyed this. Highly recommend. I love these Hellboy. I'm not a big Hellboy reader where I've read everything, but I do love these, like, little one shots that kind of allow me to check in with the character every once in a while. And then wrapping this up into a winter holiday special, I mean, it just makes sense. So hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for that you've already probably seen, for Kill Your Darlings #3. Now, because of some printing issues, this issue was pushed back to December 6th. So I'm re-releasing my original review, but I'm also adding some stuff on top of that. So go check out my original review. And at the end of the video, I'll go into some spoilers. You'll have a warning there. So make sure not to keep going if you haven't read the book, because I do want to show some extra pages, a little bit of extra content for this re-release of this video. Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Touch Your Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Kill Your Darlings #3. This is a new book from ImageComics and KLCpress. Let's take a look at the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Ethan Parker and Griffin Sheridan, with art by Bob Quinn, letters by John J. Hill. So as you know, I've been following this series pretty closely. I've really been enjoying the evolution of the story, and of course everything that kind of comes together. This issue is no different from that. I think this is probably my favorite issue so far, because of a myriad of reasons, but we'll touch on those as we get through this. But let me talk a little bit about the synopsis here. In this issue, reunited with imaginary friend Wallace, Rose and Elliot journey back to save the kingdom of Rosewood. Somewhere deep within, the great and terrible evil waits for their arrival, the same one that destroyed Rose's life all those years ago. So yeah, I mean, once again, time has passed since the last time, and as with a lot of these issues, we begin with a look at the past and a different time. I think there's some really fun, subtle things. I think one of the advantages, or one of the things that this book really has going for it, is Bob Quinn is very good at capturing little moments and just giving you clues as to what's going on. Now I only have 2 of the pages of the flashback scene, because I don't. There's a page that carries a big, I think, emotional reveal, or like it's some of the craziest thing I've seen really in this book, and I don't want to spoil that for anyone. So definitely, I think maybe we'll talk about it in the future. But going through this book, one of the cool things is, like, of course, we have a mystery, right? We don't know what's going on with all these backstories that we have prior to the opening of the book. And then we also have everything that we're following along with our main characters, with Rose and Elliot, and now Wallace. Also, the exploration of how do we get to Rosewood, and once we're there, we get to see just a beautifully imagined world that is also full of, like, there's some eerie feelings, there's a darkness to it. There's a lot of stuff that's still also happening there. I don't have any preview art for that because it would be too spoilery, but Bob manages to do some stuff with the coloring that really blew my mind. Like, there's some stuff that I don't even understand how you would begin to imagine something like that, which I think is really cool. I think color really plays a very big part of this specific issue, not only with the separation of, like, the real world and Rosewood, but also within Rosewood. There's a lot there's a lot that's being done with the color, and then also this comes even down to the lettering. I think John J. Hale truly shines in this issue, especially towards the end, where as a letterer he has to do something that I feel could be pretty difficult, and at least get a little confusing, but just because of pure skill and the way, like, know-how, like, it really is portrayed in the way that I feel it was intended to be portrayed. I'm kind of talking a little bit around it because I don't want to spoil anything, because this book is such a fun ride. So let's take a look at some of the preview art here. And as you can see, we have a couple of pages from the flashback, and I just love how they capture, like, all the little hints, like, 1887, the Eiffel Tower isn't fully built, but it gives you all the information you need to, like, where are you, what the time frame is. We have this new character that we don't know much about, and I just love how jovial he is as he's walking down back to his home, and then the sudden shift in color definitely tells you that there's something going on. And once again, these letters, like these sounds that you hear, the fact that they are colored in this bright red to contrast everything. And then once again, like I said, once you turn that page, there's just something there that really, it made me upset, but it really blew my mind. And then we follow along with our group. I think it's really interesting also to see how the town has changed since everything happened, as we follow along with Rose and Elliot. I really love Wallace. He's just like very capable character. Very, like, I feel like our characters are safe with him, at least for the moment. So that's really cool. And then, like I said, there's just some other stuff. There's so much stuff that I could show you, but I don't want to rob anyone of the experience of this third issue. Like I said, I think so far it's my favorite, and yeah, it was really, really good. A really cool storytelling. This Every time I think I have something kind of figured out, like where we may be going with the story, the book kind of swerves in a really fun direction. So yeah, I love the pacing of this book. I love the reveals, and just Bob Quinn doing some beautiful work with the art and the coloring, and of course John J. Hill just really killing it with all the lettering and the design of the book. So like, I don't know, this book is just very well put together, which is crazy to like. I don't know, like I feel like there's not enough talk about just a book being a complete a work by the team. So very excited. Right. So as I mentioned in my review, Bob Quinn was doing some really amazing stuff, and I just kind of want to go over some of those pages. First, this page of them going into the portal, it is just an amazing use of the comic book page. I love how they kind of transform and they transport into another world. Them going upside down through this magical door, going through all the colors, and now Bob Quinn's doing both the coloring and the art here. So really, this is all one complete vision. I would love to see what this page or what these pages look like in the script. And then, of course, I also wanted to show as the kids are moving forward into the world and trying to figure out what's going on with everyone else, how we go from this transition of like the color being gone and being stolen. Like, yeah, I just really love these, and I there's more stuff like this later on in the book, but I don't want to spoil everything. But yeah, this is super, super rad. Fantastic work. I love that, John J. Hill's letters are a different color for people that are in this kingdom and people who have lost their color. Like, the letters are very important and they're very friendly to new readers. So yeah, this is really, really cool stuff. I love what the team's doing. Definitely, as I mentioned in my review, my favorite issue so far. So if you have read this book, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.